top 5 survival states are reportedly Nebraska, Montana, New Mexico, Mississippi, and Wisconsin.
It's right in front of us. And by the time everyone else catches on to this, it'll be too late because, like you said, Tara, supplies will be wiped off the shelf at that point. I'm Stephanie Keith.
And I am Tara Manjekovic. And we are Unapologetically Outspoken. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Motivation Manifestation Monday. So, Stephanie, a couple weeks ago, I read an article in the Washington Examiner, and it was talking about how people have basically lost faith in the Biden administration to protect them in the event of a catastrophic event. And it was talking about like nuclear war or climate change disaster, and how people are basically resorting to hoarding food and water, clothes, weapons, and cash, just things to get them through a doomsday event. And there was a national survey that was conducted by Bonus Finder that said 40 million people fear that doomsday is coming within a year, and 108 million people have spent upwards of $5,000 to prepare for some kind of catastrophe. So there was a survey, this Bonus Finder survey was taken of 6,200 people across the country, and over 70% said that they don't have faith in our government and that more Americans are becoming fearful about an attack that will cut off power and make food and water scarce, something like an EMP attack from Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. And so I looked at this particular survey, and it actually calculated which states are the most and least prepared for a doomsday event. And so the top 5 survival states are reportedly Nebraska, Montana, New Mexico, Mississippi, and Wisconsin. And the top 5 states that are least prepared would be Oklahoma, Idaho, Rhode Island, North Carolina, and Utah. I guess I'm slightly concerned that neither Texas nor Florida, where we live, are in the most prepared states. And I'm also shocked that like California and New York and, all the total blue states where people are delusional are not in the least prepared category. But the survey also covered which items people are stockpiling the most. So the number one was water at 41.2%, warm clothes at 39.3%, food at 38.2%, toiletries at 23.5%, and pet food at 20.8%. And then the survey also mentioned how people are starting to learn survival skills. So 45% of people surveyed said they're learning foraging skills, 32% are learning to purify water, and 15% have learned how to start fires. And the survey also showed that men are more likely than women to have a doomsday plan, with 18.1% of men having already stored items away, compared to like 8.8% of women. And then when asked if they feel capable of surviving a doomsday event, 54.9% of male participants said they were confident in their survival skills, as compared to 47.1% of women. So in terms of age, the most prepared were men and women in the 40 to 65 age group, and the least prepared were those in like the 18 to 25 age group. And then the survey also assessed what's causing people to start preparing. And the findings show that 16.6% of people were motivated by things they've seen posted on social media platforms, and 10.2% was based on what they saw in news coverage. And then other reasons included being motivated by conversations with family and friends. So, Stephanie, this is something that you and I have touched on in past episodes where we talk about, like the collapse of the economy and impending food shortages. And it seems like we're clearly not alone in our concerns. And so I definitely make sure to always have extra food and water and toiletries on hand, as well as dog food. And that's like one thing that I very quickly learned from COVID, when the grocery aisles were bare and you couldn't get toilet paper or paper towels. And then like certain fresh food and canned goods were unavailable. And there were just so many items that you could only purchase in limited quantities because of these shortages. So now I try to make sure that I'm never out of any of the essentials. But you've actually started making some of your own products, right?
Yeah. I've really, thanks to this podcast, I have become a little bit of a like beginner homesteader. Not really, but like I'm working on it. But for me, like before everyone thinks I'm a nut job, let me just explain the two things that made me get serious about this, because it's really not a doomsday event. In fact, if there is a doomsday event, quite honestly, I don't think I want to survive it. Like, I'd rather just be like nuked right away because it's going to be fucking terrible. But what made me start to look at this seriously, because I was someone that used to make fun of the doomsday preppers, were events that actually happened. Okay. So the first was East Palestine, the whole train derailment, right? We did episodes on this where their water supply was ruined and the government did nothing to help these people. In fact, the government told them, oh, it's fine. Go home, go drink the water. And it wasn't safe. So when people hear about doomsday, like, we tend to think a nuclear war or something of that nature, but I don't even think that's a concern. I think the powers that are in play are smart enough to take control in other ways that are under the radar. And I think that they're already doing it. When you think about all of the different train derailments just from this year alone, along with the farm explosions and other weird events, not even the past year, maybe the past 6 months, like, it's alarming. Yet no one is really concerned at this point. No one's freaking out yet. Why? Because they're all labeled accidents. So no one suspects anything. But you know that I don't believe in coincidences. And just the other day, again, in New Mexico, a shipment of nuclear equipment just disappeared. Disappeared. They don't know where it's at. So this shit is happening already, and it's happening frequently. And whether it's China that's behind it or our government or some other terrorist group, it's right in front of us. And by the time everyone else catches on to this, it'll be too late because, like you said, Tara, supplies will be wiped off the shelf at that point. So my very first tip that I would give everybody that I did is stock up on water. And I'm talking like the big 5-gallon barrels of spring water. And I actually went on Amazon and got a water machine. You can get them for like around $100. And then I have Zephyr Hills spring water delivered to my house about every 2 weeks. I always order extra so that, we have a supply on hand just in case something does happen, like what happened in East Palestine, where they couldn't bathe in it, they couldn't drink it. All of the water was tainted. And then obviously, like, it's just always smart to have shelf-stable foods. And like a really easy thing that everyone can do is go to Sam's Club or Costco, and you could buy those huge bags of rice and beans, and they last a long time on the shelf before going bad. They're not that expensive. And then I also bought 3 trees. Like, everyone always talks about farming, but plant some trees. I got a banana plant, an avocado tree, a citrus tree. And if I had a bigger yard and didn't have an HOA, I would definitely be getting some chickens for eggs. Tara, you should get some chickens. I've been thinking about this.
No, I am working on it. I had some unexpected storm damage to pay for that kind of set me back a bit, but chickens are literally the next thing on my to-do list. And I'm also going to have to look into this water system you mentioned, because I live in the country and I'm on well water and it's amazing water, but the well is run by electricity. So if there's no power, I have no water.
Yeah, well, speaking about water, I want to get into the second thing that really made me get serious about planning and prepping. And this was a study that was recently completed that the Biden administration hid from the public, which said that fluoride is a neurotoxin and it's particularly harmful in children. It even lowers their IQ. This was all in the study. And they compared cavities in Europeans where there's no fluoride in the water to here, and there was no difference. So like, we grew up and we were always told, fluoride helps prevent cavities, and that's why we put it in the water. Well, no, that's a lie. It is poisoning us, and in the worst way, because it's affecting our brain. And the only reason why this study was released was because the Biden administration was sued over it. And then another study was also released that said that 50% of tap water contains PFAs, also known as forever chemicals, that your body can't eliminate. And they're linked to so many health issues, one of them being cancer. And in fact, 3M just had to pay $10.3 billion to settle a suit over forever chemicals being dumped into the water. And this is actually the largest water suit that was ever happened in history, yet I'm pretty sure that you haven't heard about it in the mainstream news. I know I haven't. And once again, like more people are going to start waking up and realizing that this stuff's happening. And when that happens, shit's going to hit the fan. And I feel like we're reaching a breaking point, and there's only so much more that people can take before they fight back. And that's why I would prep now and not wait for that floodgate to burst open.
Okay, I have to mention something like the whole thing with the fluoride. I don't know if they did this when you were a kid or maybe they still do it, but all throughout my childhood, I had like fluoride treatments every time I went to the dentist, not just like the toothpaste and the cleaning. It was like an extra treatment after the cleaning, and they'd put the gel in these little teeth trays, and then you'd have one on top and one on bottom, and you'd sit there with this like clamping your teeth down with this big awful smile and for like 5 minutes, and like the fluoride is running down your face, and it was just so gross. And of course it was like bubble gum or mint flavor or grape flavor because it was all for kids, and now you have me concerned.
They still do that. They paint it on their teeth. They did that to my daughter without even asking me. I was so pissed. And I want everyone, go grab your toothpaste and read the label. Somewhere on the toothpaste, you will see that it says if you consume more than a pea-sized drop of toothpaste, call poison control, because it's fucking poison. Okay. And you think about it, it's in the mouthwash, it's in the toothpaste. You think about kids, like they don't fully understand how to spit it out. And do we really get all of it out of our mouth? But basically, because of this fluoride study, I actually started making my own toothpaste. And I came across this woman on TikTok that had like really bad inflamed gums, and she was going to need all of this massive dental work, like major surgery. And she started using this natural toothpaste, completely healed her gums. Her dentist was like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So it's bentonite clay, which everyone should have on hand. This shit is amazing. It's been around for ages. And it basically pulls toxins from the body. So you can do facials, you can add it to your bath water. It's a detox. And you mix it with like a little bit of water to form a paste. And then you can add in coconut oil, which is really good for your mouth. You might have heard about people doing oil pulling before, but it kills the bad bacteria in the mouth. But unlike the alcohols and all the things that they put in these mouthwashes, it doesn't destroy all the good bacteria and enzymes. And then you can add a teaspoon of baking soda, which is great for like whitening as well. And then I go crazy with, I get the peppermint essential oil and I add like 30 drops. So it's like super minty and like refreshing. And it looks like shit. Okay. Like it looks gross. It looks like clay, but it tastes great, tastes like peppermint. And it leaves your mouth so fresh. Like literally, I'll wake up in the morning and I'm like, how the fuck is my mouth still fresh? Like this stuff is amazing. And it's not poisoning. These are like natural products. There's no fluoride. And then instead of the mouthwash that has like 85 million chemicals in it, you can just take a little bit of peroxide, mix it with water, add some more of the peppermint essential oil, and you can replace that with your mouthwash. Or you could do the oil pulling again, which is basically just putting a spoonful of coconut oil in your mouth and like swishing it around and then spitting it out in the trash, and that will pull out all of this bacteria that causes like the bad breath and things like that. And then coconut oil, just in general, like this stuff is amazing. It can replace your lotion. It can be used as a sun protecting sunscreen. Sunscreen's also really bad for you, by the way. So yeah, I've got a shit ton of tips. So just, stay put. If anyone needs some advice, let me know.
So is the bentonite clay something you can like easily get at Amazon or at the store, or is it like a specialty item? And is there like a certain brand you recommend?
Yep, you can get it on Amazon, and I always look at the reviews because just you should do that with anything, but with Amazon you'll see like I don't remember the name of it, but there's like two different brands that have like tens of thousands of great reviews. Go with that. Don't go with one that has like 50 reviews. You want to make sure you're getting the one that people have tried. But yeah, it's very common. You can get it there. You can also get it at places like Whole Foods and like some of those specialty stores, but I just get mine on Amazon. And Like, here's the thing. If you start learning how to make things for yourself, then you're not as reliant on these toxic filled products. And like you start to figure out that all you need to stock up on like toiletries and household items, for example, are a few key ingredients. So for cleaning, that's another thing that I've really tried to eliminate is all these toxic cleaning chemicals. And for cleaning, for washing clothes, for washing dishes, all you need is borax, which is basically a natural compound. It's magnesium. I believe it's magnesium sulfate, baking soda, and vinegar. And you could clean pretty much anything with those three things, and they're not toxic. And there's so many effective home remedies for all sorts of things using super simple ingredients. Again, like borax, apple cider vinegar, coconut oil, peroxide, and other very cheap and common household staples that you probably already have in your pantry. And the thing is that like all of these things were the standard for so long. All of our great grandparents, this is the stuff that they used regularly. And when the Rockefellers took over the medical schools in I believe it was the early 1900s, they banned any type of natural remedy and went on a marketing spree to make home remedies look dangerous and ineffective. They changed the entire curriculum for medical schools, took all of this stuff out of all of the textbooks and replaced it. And of course, they did this because this was at the time when petroleum-based pharmaceuticals were invented, and they saw a huge profit potential of having every single doctor coming out of medical school prescribing pharmaceuticals instead of these natural remedies that have been used for centuries. And then now, current day in Canada, they're putting regulations on natural health products, making them even more difficult to access. So all the more reason to start stocking up on this stuff now, because who knows if they'll end up doing that here pretty soon. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing that people always think about when it comes to like prepping is generators. And if you're like in a hurricane or something like that, where you lose power for a couple of days, a generator's great. But when we're talking about like an EMP attack or something like that, I just think it's a really bad idea to use a generator because you are going to get people within the first week. When people start to realize what's happening, panic's going to set in. It's going to be chaotic. And you do not want to attract attention to yourself. And so if people see or hear a generator, they're going to assume that you're also prepared with food and water and other things that you need. And the last thing you want is some drunk, hungry guy that didn't prepare coming to your house and causing trouble. So you want to like be quiet, stay inside, fly under the radar for the first couple of weeks. And the other thing, of course, this is just my opinion, is that if something like this does happen, if you can't get to the store within the first 24 hours, like don't even bother going because the shelves will be wiped clean. People are going to start panicking. And that's when a lot of crime will happen. A lot of bad things take place. So don't even go if you can't get out in the first day. And if you are going to get out, this is why you want to have some cash on hand, because if there is an EMP attack, then there's going to be no way to use like your credit card or anything. So you'll have to get whatever food and gas is available with cash. And then another thing, have plenty of ammo on hand so you can protect yourself and your family. Like people always think about buying a gun, but what a lot of people don't realize is anytime there's a big event or like catastrophe happening, you run out of ammo. Like people literally run out of it all the time. Stores there's wait lists for it sometimes. So make sure you stock up on things like that before there's a crisis. And this is why we don't ban guns, right, Tara? Like you have to be able to protect yourself.
Which is exactly why our government is working so hard to ban guns so that we don't have the ability to protect ourselves and our families. And I know this sounds like it's a scary podcast, or maybe you guys think that like Stephanie and I have just gone off the rails with our conspiracy shit. And you're like, what happened to the positive stuff you talk about on Mondays? But here's the thing, like you have to look past the scary side of this episode and realize that this is actually positive. Like being prepared is being empowered. It's about not burying your head in the sand and waiting for someone to save you when shit goes south. Like we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Nobody is coming to save you. You have to be able to take care of yourself and your family to the best of your ability. And that means being as prepared as possible, even if some of these suggestions sound far reaching. And for people with kids, it's even more critical. And honestly, before COVID, I would have thought these ideas were fucking crazy too. And even when we started this podcast, my perspective on conspiracies was that they would be fun and entertaining to talk about. And, we would laugh about this stuff and just be like, isn't that crazy? But the more Stephanie and I do research for this podcast, the more it has opened my eye to the truth, things that I literally thought could never happen or be real, but they are. And we have it's just crazy. There's just like so much crazy that even if this seems far-fetched, like start preparing. So, and then I have something else I want to talk about, Stephanie. So we are going to be, once again, making some upcoming changes to our Patreon. So in my mind, third time's the charm, right? There is so much crazy shit going on that we can't fit into our weekly podcast format. And over the past few months, we've really been kind of hit or miss with our Patreon content and kind of changing the direction of it. And so we try to keep it high vibe and like more consistent with the Motivation Manifestation Monday theme. But we constantly come across content that we can't fit into our weekly episodes. And it's good shit that we want to share that we think you guys really need to know about. So what we're going to start doing is additional short weekly podcasts that are exclusive content just for our Patreon members. And these episodes will really be anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, covering information and stories and things that are important that we just don't have time to cover in our weekly podcast format. So Stephanie, like tell people what they can expect with this new Patreon format.
Well, I'm super excited about it because I am planning on sharing all of the shit that I am constantly texting Tara with, like when I go down the rabbit hole, which is all the time. And we just can't fit it all into our episodes. And some of it is like really going down the rabbit hole. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, the conspiracy stuff, which it seems like most of you do, like when we post this kind of stuff on TikTok, we get a lot of feedback. And so if you follow us on TikTok already, it's that kind of thing that I want to touch on, plus all of the different stories going on that we just don't have time to cover. So we're going to put it all on there. And then, as you can tell from this episode, I'm super passionate about really paying attention to all of these toxins and things that are in our products. And so I'm learning. And as I do, I want to share that with you. I want to share these recipes with you guys and share just some of the tips and things that I'm learning. And doomsday or not, like we just should start doing that and paying attention to this stuff, knowing that there's carcinogens in like every product from, these big companies. So all that kind of stuff we're going to put in there. Tara and I talk pretty much on a daily basis, and we're like, why not just get the Patreon crowd in on all this stuff? So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be awesome. And it's a great way that you guys can help support the show too, because I know our episodes are pretty short, but we put a lot of work into these, and we want to keep giving you guys as much content as possible as it comes out. And so this is just a great way that you can help support the show and kind of get the sneak peek on all the new stuff that is constantly happening in this world.
Yeah. And I really hope you post some of these recipes that you talked about today, because I definitely want to start making my own toothpaste. It sounds like it's gross, but if you say that it actually doesn't taste bad and it works, I am totally down to do it.
Oh yeah, I will get right on that. I'm going to post that. I'll post a whole bunch of stuff. I got a whole list that I'll share with you guys. So we'll link that up in the show notes. And we hope to see you guys in there soon. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you back here for Weird Wednesday. If you're sick of all the crazy shit going on in our country and you want to express your support and patriotism for the show, head on over to our Etsy store at UO Patriot Chicks and check out our new stickers. The link can also be found on our website. If you love the show and you want exclusive episodes, support the podcast and join the conversation by becoming a member of our Patreon community. We'll be posting weekly member-only podcast episodes and content that isn't available on the weekly podcast. Every Patreon member will also get a free Unapologetically Outspoken sticker and updates about our new sticker release before they're made public. And be sure to follow us on TikTok at Unapologetically Outspoken. And if you haven't done so already, please rate and review the podcast. The more you support us, the more people we can reach. So help us spread the word.